to come before you today. And I want to send a big shout out to Kings of Kings and Kings of Queens Grand Lodge and Grand Chapter and their Supreme Council, for which they held their biannual session in Las Vegas over the weekend. I had a great time to fellowship with them. Also to Harriman Tyree, they held their grand session over the weekend in Las Vegas. And to the members of my Supreme Council, we had a great opportunity this weekend, and to the Grand Lodge Estate under the leadership of Grand Master Kevin Sanders. Greetings to everyone. We had an awesome weekend, a very informative, very educational, masonically speaking, a great fellowship in the process. You know, it was just totally awesome. We were able to do work in the various degrees of the into apprentice. We did degree work in the Royal Arc Masonry, and we did degree work in the primitive rites. So today, as I come before you, today we're going to talk about primitive rites and what does that look like. What is primitive rites? Memphis-Misraïm. What is this thing here really all about when we come to talking about primitive rites and Freemasonry? So this is the conversation we're going to have today, just for a little while. So I just want to welcome everybody to come in with me today, just to fellowship for a little while. So we're going to talk about the primitive rites, because this weekend, as we was doing the degree work, and yes, we did some initiations into the primitive rites this weekend. It was very informative. It was very interesting. It was long. It was all of that. We started our degree work at 5:30. We got done about almost 12 o'clock. I say about 11:30 we got done. We was out the door about 11:45, 12 o'clock. So we had a long day on Saturday doing degree work while we was in Vegas, and it was an experience. I loved it. I loved the fellowship. Big shout out to Serenity Chapter out of Las Vegas. I think you're doing an awesome job. You did well this weekend. And for the brothers who went to the Lodge of Sorrow on yesterday, I want to say thank you for representing the Most Wishful John G. Jones Grand Lodge, California, as always. And our travels was well. And I would tell you, once again, it is indeed an honor to be part of this society of Freemasonry. Oh, man. I have a story for you. And this is true. This actually happened. Before I get into talking with you today, this actually happened. I had a flat on the way back from Vegas. Me and my grandmaster, we cruising. I had a flat. We get out, we change the flat, we get back in the car. Mind you, we have a spare on the car, so we driving. As we're cruising along, he's going about maybe 80, 75. The highway patrolman gets behind us. We're like, dang, man, how fast were you going? He said, man, I was going about maybe 80, 75, moving with the flow of traffic. We wasn't doing anything excessively, you know? So this police officer, this is a true story. Police officer pulls us over, highway patrolman pulls us over, gets behind us. We pull over to the side of the road. He said, greetings, how you doing? I said, we're doing well. Grandmaster's driving. He said, let me see your driver's license. Now, mind you, before he even came up on the car, we rolled down all the windows. We rolled down all the windows. We wanted him to see in the car, nothing, you know, we rolled them all down. So we both sitting there. Of course, you know, we got on our Masonic shirts. No, I mean, of course, you know, we having fun. We got our Masonic shirts on, so we cruising. Boom, rolled the windows down. He come over, he looks in the car. He said, license, please. He didn't ask for registration, just said license. Gave him the license, he took the license. He never leaves. He never leaves his car. He never leaves us as far as getting the license. So he looks over, he says, where you just coming from? Where you guys coming from? We said, we just coming from Vegas, you know, we was at a Masonic event there and doing some fellowship. And he's like, yeah, really? I was like, yeah. So he looked, he said, do you happen to know a guy by the name of James Dixon. That was his name. He said, James Dixon. I said, no. I said, what Grand Lodge he's part of? Well, he's out of Chicago. I'm like, oh, no, I don't call that. So he said he was out of Chicago. So I was like, okay, cool. So he looks at the license again on my Grand Master. He said, okay. He said, look, the reason I pulled you guys over is because of you got a spare on your tire, you got a spare on, you're going about 75, 80, you know, you need to slow it down. It's like, oh, okay. He said, yeah, man, but my friend James Dixon, he was a Mason, he was a big motherfucker, you know. I'm like, damn, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, he was big, man. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, man, I'm gonna tell y'all what. Brothers, you slow it down a little bit, make sure you get home back to San Diego safely. And we gonna let this one, you know, you go ahead and just be safe driving back. But get over in this lane and nobody will mess with you. You can cruise this, you can cruise that lane and just go on about your business. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, enjoy yourself. We was rolling, bruh. I'm telling you. All you have to do, really and sincerely, carry yourself decently and orderly. Be the example. And when you, as a Mason, I don't know, I can't talk for other people. I'm talking strictly for those of us who actually do some traveling, who actually go up and down the freeway. I'm talking to us. You know, I'm not saying anything else couldn't have happened. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm in control of this. This is the only thing I'm in control of. Even if that police officer would have had a fucked up day, I control this. I'm not gonna even trip. I don't know what his intentions is and nothing like that, but I'm not gonna trip. But in this case, it showed me the humanity of those who appreciate the organization. It showed me that if you carry yourself in the right way, that others who know others who are Masons expect a certain decorum about you. Okay? Hear me clearly. Those people who see you as a Mason or Eastern Star, they expect for you to be different than any other body. They expect for you to carry yourself differently. That's the expectation of being part of this organization. And that's what I get out of it. That's what I enjoy. That's the rights and privileges. I've enjoyed this organization. So look, let me get on into the primitive rights thing here today. I'm just saying. So today, we're talking about primitive rights and its structure. We're talking about it from a primitive part. So the first thing you have to do in order to understand primitive rights is to look up the word primitive. And in looking up that word, you come to find that it is something that has no structure to it. It's there, but it doesn't have a structure to it. So as we was indulging in our primitive right degree work this weekend, in our initiation, in the lecture part of it, we was learning and came across primitive as being something that has no structure to it, but it's there. All right. The right is the ideal of placing structure to it. And when you place structure to a primitive right, we found this weekend that it is primarily the foundation of Freemasonry, from which it gets its structure from. This is what I found this weekend in our lecture study that we had. Hear me clearly, and I can talk with anybody about having this conversation. That when you look up the word primitive and you look up the word right, primitive meaning something that is there, but it doesn't necessarily have a structure to it. It has a foundation, it just doesn't have a structure to it. It is there. Then when you look up the word right, R-I-T-E, you look at that as something that comes in and gives it structure. Okay? It gives it structure. So in looking at that, I find that Freemasonry, as I know it today, gets its primary foundation and structure from primitive rites. You can say whatever you want to say, how you say it. I'm in the right, R-I-T-E, and I have studied for myself the right and the primitive. So you have primitive, you have ancient Misraïm, and Memphis-Misraïm. But I'm talking about primitive rites in general, that structure, that foundation. And in putting that together, this is what I found this weekend as we was going through the initiation rites and ceremonies. And I found it very uniquely put as we was going and reading in lecturing in the various degrees. I had one of those aha moments for me, because I did not sit back and just say, oh, I'm a this degree, I'm a that degree. No, I want to understand the degree work for which I find myself part of. To have the degrees and not understand what you're a part of does you absolutely no good. You just spinning in degrees. I got this degree. No. You get the degrees, you have them, you must understand them. Give it some texture, give it some foundation, give it an understanding in its totality for which you operate in. You know, a lot of people don't like the primitive rites because they don't understand the degree work. They find it to be clandestine because they don't operate the degree work. Something you don't operate or understand, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You just don't operate the degrees. That's all. And the same thing goes for the Moorish rite. You know, people who don't have the degrees, they call them clandestine, they call them bogus, they call them this. You don't have the degree. You don't have the right, R-I-T. So you don't understand the basics that comes with being initiated in that rite. Until you are there, you're not going to get it. You're not going to understand it. You're not going to have it. You can claim this and say this in your jurisdictional practice this to practice that. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Because you don't practice it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It is a beautiful rite when you're in it and you are able to comprehend it and what it's trying to teach you as a rite, as something that comes together and gives you a better foundation than that which you perceive. Most of us, when we think of Masonry, we think of 1717, we think of 1776, we think of the 1700s. You don't think nothing else other than that, because this is where you get your foundation from. Hear me clearly. Most of those who are Freemasons, the only thing they ever think of and bring up is 1717, 1776, 26, 7. That's it. That's all you got as far as your structure of Freemasonry as you know it today. However, there are rites that supersedes what we know today as Freemasonry. There are rites that are out there that has structure and substance to it that supersedes Freemasonry. The only thing is because you don't practice them, you feel that it's not worthy. And you're totally the opposite. It's very worthy to look into them, to look into those rites. Very worthy. And when you look into them, you'll be surprised about what you find as far as what they say in regards to what we know today as Freemasonry. Just take your time. Look into those rites and man, you'll be amazed. You'll be astonished. You'll be like, wow. And then, even with that being said, you will come to the understanding that even in primitive rites, the structure that we know today as in primitive rites, it didn't really circumvent itself or come to a complete circle of itself until 1881. So when you look at 1881 versus 1717 or 1726, then you say, well, the Grand Lodge system is older. It is not that it's older. It was just structured better. Okay, I will give that to the structure of what we know today as Freemasonry. Following that, you have what we call primitive rites. Its structure was already there. That side of Freemasonry, as we know it today, of rites, were already there. It just had not been captured and put into a rite. But once it was captured and put into a rite, it had its moments of development. Okay, just like we know the York Rite and Scottish Rite, it had its moments of development. Every rite that comes along, every initiation that comes along has its moments of development. And as time progresses, you will find that these rites all come together to help you to become a better version of you. Okay? It helps you to become a higher version than yourself. It helps you to elevate to a priesthood character. It helps you to put you in a place of better, of a learned man. That's where it puts you. Okay? But what happens is people take these rights and they misuse them in such a way to a person doesn't get the opportunity to enjoy the right. They don't enjoy Freemasonry. They don't enjoy Eastern Stars because people have taken them and began to sell them off without even It's depressing at times when you think about how people have taken the system and sold it off. And this is what they've done. And some of us are so hell bent in being caught in one particular right or another, to your mind is not able to comprehend that there were other things out here besides what you think you know. Because when you think that you have it all or know it all, brothers and sisters, you have you're totally off center. When you think that you know it all and have it all, when you think you have reached your epitome or the mountaintop, you still got a ways to go. As I was sitting in the Sovereign Sanctuary in Las Vegas this past weekend, that is what I discovered about myself, is that I got a ways to go. As we was going through the degree rites of the primitive, and as we was reading and doing the different lectures, in the process, I had that moment of saying, you know what I thought I knew, what I thought I was getting, what I had to revamp that for me, because then I had to start looking at primitive rites in a different perspective, in a different manner, as it was being introduced in the various lectures that was given. I had to start subtracting some things out of it and looking at it from a different point of view, other than my own. But listen to what others had, that other predecessors before me were saying in regards to the rights. And when I took that and I began to break that down for me, it was like Professor James Small said the other day, all of those rites and ceremonies elevates you to be a better you. It elevates you into what we would call a priesthood. But a lot of us ain't ready for a priesthood. So we'll rather be in a retributed mind, a mind that doesn't want to change, a mind that doesn't want to be redefined or continue to comprehend and continue to grow. A lot of us like where we're at, and we're not willing to change or take in anything or look at anything differently. A lot of us like where we are at. And so nothing ever happens because you like where you're at. Some of us like being in hell. We like it. We like keeping up mess. A lot of us enjoy that negativeness. So you can't change, you can't evolve, you can't grow. But for those of us who see it differently, for those of us who are willing to look at things from another perspective, another advantage point, those are the ones that grow because they see it differently. They're able to accept your advantage point because they haven't gotten there yet. They're able to say, no, I'm at this vantage point and this is how I see it. So you can agree to disagree, depends on your advantage point. So when you are in the primitive rites, you can see the various advantage points of Freemasonry. When you are in the primitive rites, you can go back and break down some of those Scottish Rite degrees from a whole nother perspective. You can do that. And I would say that in all of the rites of Freemasonry that I know of and know about, there are just too many different rites to even mention. Because what I think I know here is not necessarily what is being practiced somewhere else. It's totally different. It is definitely totally different. And for some of us, we're not going to gain that knowledge. We're not going to gain that understanding of what it is. We're not. Because that's what we do to ourselves. We're not able to comprehend other rites and ceremonies that predates Freemasonry because we think that that's it. Freemasonry is all there is, and it's not. There's more to this than just the fundamental process of York Rite and Scottish Rite. There's more to this than just your primitive rites as we know it. It's the degree of Amun Ra. And I only know of two people who ever spoke of the degrees, you know, and I want to know more about that. I'm not willing to sit idly by and just say this is all I need to know and this is going to be good for me. This is what happens to a lot of brothers that are Christians, that are Muslims, that are Catholics, that are in what we call a religious-based atmosphere. This is all they've ever been told. This is all they've ever been taught. So they're not going to get anything else out of this other than that. But when you go and do your research and begin to indulge yourself in various books of education, you will find things different. When you go look at religion as far as what it is in America versus what it is outside of America, you're going to see it differently. And that's the beauty in regards to this thing we call Freemasonry. What we do here in the United States is not necessarily something they do over in England. It's not necessarily what they do over in Italy. It's not necessarily what they do over in Germany and any other place. It is not always the same. I'm not saying that it's not similar. It's just not the same. Okay? It's not the same. And what I found is Saturday when we was doing our primitive rites degree work, it was interesting. I love the lectures that was given on the various degrees within the primitive rites, and it got so long, we had to cut it short because we would have been there all night. The degree work was so long we had to actually cut it short. It was just too much. It was just, it's just like having a lot of food on your plate and it's all good and you're trying to really eat it and you find that it's just too much and I can't take it all. And this is how it was this weekend when we was doing our primitive rites work. It was just too much I got full. And I was like, this is it. This is that moment where you have arrived to this point and you can say, okay, this is why I enjoy this degree work on this side, this primitive rights thing. When you indulge yourself in it, I just don't have the degrees. I'm talking about you read and you give lectures in the degrees. That's the difference. A lot of people who have these degrees, they just got them. They do no lectures, they do no readings, they just have them. What I enjoy about where I'm at is the mere fact, even for those who are 33rds under this Supreme Council, we actually meet, every other quarter or something like that. We actually meet as 33rds and go through the process. That's what I like. So in this jurisdiction, when you are part of the primitive rights, we actually have a sanctuary where we meet and we say, okay, who's giving out the lecture today? Let's have a better understanding of this degree or that degree. And that's the difference. To have these degrees and not really take them seriously or study them is for naught. It's really, really for naught. And I would tell you, in the primitive degree work, it gives you a better understanding and comprehension of your 33rd. It really does. But, like I said, once again, for those of us who have them, we don't take them seriously. We don't. A lot of us don't take primitive rights serious. And we have the beetle on, we don't. But as far as me and the sanctuary here, where I'm at, we want the brothers to understand this degree work. We want them to be able to break it down and comprehend it in such a manner to when you're speaking about it, people will say, okay, where did you get this at and how did this formulate? We want them to have that knowledge of it. And not just say, oh, I'm a 90th degree, or I'm a 95th, or I'm a 90th this, or I'm a 43rd, I'm a this. No, we want you to be able to speak upon the rights that you have. If you are in the LOP, I want you to be able to speak about the LOP. I don't just want you to say I'm a 14th degree Mason and you can't speak about it. I want you to understand the right. And that is what's supposed to set you apart when you have these degrees, is the mere fact that you can talk about them in such a manner and fashion that it would enlighten the next person. See, when you have knowledge of something, you have to be cautious about who you share it with. When you have knowledge about something, you have to be cautious about who you share it with, because everybody isn't ready for the conversation. They ain't. Everybody isn't ready to have that conversation. And so you have to be cautious And that's the enjoyment of understanding the first degree you're in, is that no matter where you're at in this degree work, you always have to remain cautious because everybody is not on the level with you. Everybody is not going to be where you're at. Everybody cannot be able to circumvent and have that conversation because of where you may be at, because of your knowledge and understanding of the degree work. So no, we can have that conversation because if I told you some things, you definitely gonna look at me crazy. Nah, this brother is lost his mind. Why would you say that? Unless you have studied the degrees. See, people can talk about, man, that degree, them degrees, they don't count. They don't count because you don't have them. They don't count because you don't practice them. So of course, no, they don't count. But if you practice the degree work, if you entertain the degree work, if you get into the knowledge that the degrees present to you, they count. They have leverage and understanding to help elevate you into that priesthood. And then, I've said that 3 or 4 times. Some of you will catch that on the way home. Some of you will catch that on the way home. Some of you who are 33rds now couldn't answer the simple question of giving me the password to the 33rd. Some of you could not answer the question about heptagon. You know, what does the heptagon mean? And what are those letters around the heptagon? How do that translate into where I'm trying to go? Because you have degrees, but you don't study the degrees. You know, each of the tents have various colors. What does the colors represent on the tent? Who am I protecting? What am I in search of? And will I find it? Those are the things you should be really indulging yourself in. If I want to continue to be a great Freemason, first I have to learn the measurement of myself. Absolutely. What's going on there, Williams? How you doing? Great. Let's see. Federation, gentlemen. Fraternal greetings. What's going on? With great knowledge come great responsibility. Absolutely. What I've learned in this thing I call Freemasonry is that the conversation I want to have, I can't have with everybody. There's only a few people that know me personally where I've had conversations that pretty much is out of this world. Oh man, I'm so serious. I'm so serious. You be like, yeah, y'all truly lost your mind. Y'all on some other stuff. And to have those conversations with those brothers who are already there, yeah. Yeah, I can get down like that. See, when talking to people, when you talk about, I'm gonna switch the subject just for a second. When you talk to people who are religious, and you talk about talking to your ancestors, and you're talking about asking favors from your ancestors, they look at you like you crazy. Talking to the religious people, and you tell them, you know, I talk to my ancestors. I seek favor from my ancestors. They look at you like you crazy. But they would talk to you about praying to Jesus. They would talk to you about praying to Abraham and the various saints, those who you've never met or seen before. They would talk to you about that. They would say, yeah, you should do this and you should do that. But you never met them. But the mere fact that you talk to them about your mother, your father, your sisters, your aunts and uncles who have gone on, and you tell them, hey, I talked to my uncle last night and I needed him to do this favor for me. Things that they can operate on the other side. Well, you shouldn't be talking to them like that. But you talk to Jesus like that. You talk about Abraham. You talk about Mark, Luke, Matthew like that, and you never met them. You quote what they say, and you never met them. Oh, come on, people, talk back to me. I'm just saying. Now, in the aspect of Freemasonry, let me get back on my topic. I had to just go over there for a minute to kind of help you get a better understanding of where I'm going with this. Is the mere fact that when we were talking about the primitive rites, rites that's before the rites of Freemasonry as we know it today. And yes, I said that right. I said primitive rites is a rite that predates Freemasonry. I'm standing on it based on what I know. And when I come up with something else or I find something else that can help enhance that or maybe even change that, I roll with what I find. I'll go with what I know for myself. Not what someone told me, but this is what I read for myself. And I'm not saying that everything in the book is facts and truth. You continue to search, you continue to read, you continue to open various books. I'm saying from what I know right now today, primitive rites predates Freemasonry. It's history, not a mystery. I got that from Professor James Baldwin, James Smalls. I got that from him. Like I said, primitive rites predates Freemasonry. It's history, it's not a mystery. And that's what I discovered this weekend. It predates it. Period. So look, I appreciate you coming on, sharing this moment and opportunity with me as we go through these various rites. If there's something else that I can help you with along your journey, please reach out to me. I got a good lineup coming here real soon, especially on Wednesday. I got a special guest coming on Wednesday. I'm going to confirm it on later today, and I will post it for Wednesday. I have someone that's going to really mess your head up on some stuff. This brother right here, hey, I'm not going to give his name out until he confirms. Once he confirms it today, I will make the announcement. I will be interviewing him, and I'm not giving his name out until he confirms it. So you're going to have to join me on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so it should be about 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This brother right here has been around the block for a while. He's young, but boy, full of knowledge. Blow you away. Blow you away. I can't wait. So look, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you. Hold on just a second. I didn't see it at first, but whoever, there you go. Hey, the fraternal greeting, gentlemen, the fraternal gentlemen. I want to say, with all due respect, I appreciate what your donation. I accept it with gratitude and grace. I appreciate it. So, I look forward to seeing most of you again. Greetings, everybody who's joining me. You put in the chat. If I didn't give you a shout out, I apologize, Brother Tony Muhammad. You are a great person to speak to when I'm down. Brother, look, if I can help lift you up when you're down, I'm all in. Because I don't have time to put my foot on your neck. You already down. I can't do that to you. And I call myself your brother. I call myself knowing who you are. Even some of us who are rotten to the core, they themselves need a hand up. And then when they get the hand up, maybe they can see something different, and maybe they can change their life. I'm not about holding the next person down. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. Jesus Christ never existed. Well, I'm going to say this. To you, that's probably right. I'm not going to deny that. What I'm saying, for those who find safety, in the name Jesus Christ, those who find their purpose for living in Jesus, He exists. He exists. And I'm not going to change that. If Jesus Christ can help change your life, I'm all in. I just want you to be able to live your life to the fullest, okay? Without killing, without misleading or causing harm or hurt to the next person. I don't care who you believe in, but to get you to a point to where you can be the best you and be the best example of a human, you catch that. Look up the word human. You'll catch that too. I'm all in. To all brothers, Tony Muhammad lifted my spirit because I found out my mom has cancer, and you lifted me. Hey, bro, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I know, well, that's what Noah told me.
Talk to your ancestors. They listen, and they know who you are. Absolutely, they do. Moses, Noah, Jacob, all of them fictional. Oh yeah. So we have to get in. Greetings. Greetings to everybody. Greetings, and thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. If you want to continue to be a great Freemason, first have to learn the measurement of myself. Absolutely. Greetings to all who came on to share this moment with me. I appreciate you. And I'm going to say this here before I go. The time that you share with me and the time I share with you, it's a gift. It can never, ever be discarded. It can never ever be discarded. This energy that we share through this medium is precious. This time right now, where we're at, we once it's gone, we can never get it back. And man, to be here with you is totally awesome. It is a beautiful thing to share this moment, this 30 minutes with you. It is totally awesome. And I'm not going to take anything from granted because, man, so many of us, so many of our people and families and friends are transitioning right before our very eyes every day. Every day. And I can't take this for granted. I'm just going to love on the moment. I'm just going to enjoy the moment of what I have. Because who knows? It's just what it is. Who knows? I'm here for the ride. So with that being said, peace be to you, your family, and your friends. And whatever you do, keep your light on, stay out the bushes. History is not a mystery. I'm out.